10 minutes on Purim?
Sure, holiday.
How do you say Purim if you're from where my wife comes from?
What?
Purim. I say
Purim.
In Spanish, Purim.
Right, Mo?
What?
Purim?
Purim.
Purim.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in some dialect of Yiddish.
Okay.
They don't know how to read the vowels properly. So, see? Actually, to be fair, my wife's family says Purim. Because they're like Lithuanian Hasidim. They're Russian Hasidim. They don't have the Polish dialect or Hungarian dialect of Yiddish.
The Hungarian's very interesting.
Yeah. So, Purim. Purim.
Hungarian is.
Purim. We have a few halachot that are very important. Matanot le'evyonim. People are delivering me mishloach manot today. Someone who brings you mishloach manot today didn't get the mitzvah of mishloach manot. Mishloach manot has to be done on Thursday morning and on. Thursday after sunrise until Thursday before sunset. After sunset, let's say you're going to see someone at the Purim party at night, you cannot bring them mishloach. You can bring them a gift, it's nice. So you have to make sure that in the daytime you bring one person, two kinds of food. It's not true, I said in Shabbat, it's not true. It does not have to be two kinds of blessings. It just has to be two kinds of food. Someone recently came to tell me that someone complained that I said that halakha. So he's doing everything in spite of the Ashkenazim. But it's not true. The Ashkenazim also, I want to let you know, have no source which says that it's two. If you ask an Ashkenazi Rav, like a posek, he'll tell you he never knows where this two blessing thing came from. Some preschool teacher made it up, and that became standard Jewish practice. It's an insult to Ashkenazim to say that they came. It's not a halakha that you learn from Ashkenazim. Everyone agrees you have to have two kinds of foods that go into a basket. It could be two rolls, bread and a cookie, whatever, but it has to be two different kinds of food. If you send someone like a whole, let's say the question was, if you send someone a dish of rice and meat mixed together, is that two kinds of food or is it one kind of food? That's where you start to get into tricky situations. But if you're sending two foods that are packaged separate, and they're in one basket, that's considered mishloach manot. You only have to give one person mishloach manot.
Is there any status to Shushan?
Outside of Israel?
Yeah.
No.
In Israel, yes.
We don't say tachanun on outside. It's still a happy day, but
None of the mitzvot apply.
none of the mitzvot apply. And when it comes to mishloach manot, it's important to know that certain people require different kinds of mishloach manot. If you go to, let's say, the chief rabbi of Israel, and you send him mishloach manot, he's not even going to look at it in the next week. It's going to be sitting on a desk somewhere. You didn't get the mitzvah of mishloach manot. It hasn't been mishloach manot practical. If you go to Rav Ovadia Yosef when he was alive and gave him, a chocolate bar and a Sprite bottle, could be that that's not mishloach manot. It's not someone of his stature who wouldn't eat like that, right? So you have to make sure the things you send are chashuv enough for the person who's receiving them. Kashrut-wise, let's say someone gives me food on Purim that I'm not allowed to eat. Someone sends me a drink and chadash hamentashim, not yashan. So they didn't fulfill the mitzvah of mishloach manot. If I were to go to someone Svardik and give him not galat meat, which Ashkenazim are allowed to eat, so I, as an Ashkenazi person, would not have fulfilled my obligation. But it's some poskim say that I, as a Sfaradi, would give an Ashkenazi something he's allowed to eat, or vice versa. That would consider mishloach manot. You go by mishloach manot based on the person receiving it. It should be a certain level of chashiva. Men should only give mishloach manot to men. Women should give mishloach manot to women. It's not necessary if you have no one else to give to. You can give to a woman, but it's better not to. The reason being is tzniut, obviously. Some rabbis were worried about safek kiddushin. Maybe you're going to go to a lady and give her mishloach manot, and she'll think that you're proposing to her with the food, and it's going to be like instead of giving a ring, you're giving something of monetary value. We're not so worried someone's going to think your mishloach manot basket is a wedding present. But tzniut-wise, it says matanot mishloach manot ish l're'ehu, a man to his friend. A man doesn't have a friend who's a woman. A man has a friend who's a man, and a woman has a friend who's a woman. Some understand this term of mishloach, of sending, has to be through a shaliach, very nice, through a messenger. Meaning, you shouldn't give mishloach manot directly, but you should give it to someone else to give for you. It seems to me that's a custom in many places. it's a very fringe interpretation of the halakha. I mean, very few rabbis were of that opinion. I believe the Chazon Ish, he was very strict in halachot. He didn't do such a thing. But if you have that custom, it's okay to send it to a shliach. It's just not necessary. If you believe that you have to send it to a shliach, so you can do it through a kid, through it doesn't make someone not Jewish. You might send it to UPS man. It's okay. You can do whatever you want with that. It doesn't have to have the laws of a shaliach, like by giving a get or something else. Matanot Evyonim, poor people. What defines a poor person?
All of us.
In your society, it's harder to tell.
It's harder to tell in this society. I saw a guy recently that I know that a few months ago he came to me, broke, and a penny to his name, and I saw him the other day with a brand new BMW. But the truth is, it could be he still has no money. Just that he signed on a $200 lease, and it looks like he's a wealthy person. There are many people like that today. So when you see a person dressed a certain way or driving a certain way, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were able to afford that. There's just a certain kind of lifestyle that people can fit into because it's a world of sheker, of lies. So people do that. It used to be you saw a person, the way they dress, the way that you know something about their status.
Everything on credit.
Today you have very, very chashuv people, wealthy people, and they act like they're bums from the street. There's no class anymore. There's no refinement. And that money is not the only thing that dictates that. It used to be a college professor was an academic. He was he acted a certain. Today, you see him in a bathing suit laying on the beach in front of the whole world. He doesn't view that as an affront to his dignity because there is no such thing as dignity in the world that we live in today. It's you go to a restaurant and the only person wearing a tie is the waiter. Why? Because the waiter he gets paid $8 an hour, but the other guy, he's so well. He wears a polo shirt that cost him $600 and jeans that cost him $1,000. But this guy's wearing a suit and a tie because he's the waiter. It's a world that's upside down today. That's the way that it works. Mishlach manot, I asked our parents, give me a definition. Mishlach manot is a person who is struggling to finish paying his bills at the end of the month. It doesn't mean a person has money in his savings that he doesn't want to use, or a retirement fund that, he got an inheritance for $10 million, but he's too cheap to open it up because maybe his kids will find out about it. We're talking about a person who really, really, when it comes to the end of the month, they don't know where they're going to get that money to close their bills. That person it's not a poor as in a degrading fashion, but that person, you get a mitzvah for helping out such a person poor. And the preference of giving Mishlach Manot is to somebody who's a Torah scholar. So if you live in a town where there's a yeshiva, or a kollel, or somebody who's in yeshiva or is in kollel, your mitzvah would be to help that person out before you help out another person. Not necessarily, just a yeshiva guy who's living on his parents' salary, he's not a poor person. He's taken care of. There are kollel guys, for example, in Yerushalayim, who, they make a salary of $1,000 a month together, both him and his wife. So that person, I think the Kulei Alma is considered not having so much. When it comes to giving, it should be done in a way that's not embarrassing. It's the most important part. The person shouldn't give and then embarrass the other person who's giving. It has to be done b'chukhmah. Nobody has to know where it comes from. So there's no mitzvah unlike you don't have to write your name on it. Just give. If you don't know who to give, you don't know where to find somebody, you can come to see. I have a fund over here. This is the Mishlach from Adamatul Evini fund. We give to people on Purim. I go. Nobody knows where it comes from. It's already the third year we've been doing it. Nobody has any idea where this money comes from over time. Mishlach Manot. Who has to give? Who's too poor to give? Nobody. Everyone must give Matanot Evini on Purim. It's better not to give a check or a credit card, because it has to be in that person's hands on the day of Purim. If you give to an organization in Israel, it probably won't fulfill your mitzvah because they're in Jerusalem or something like that. It's the next day. You have to give locally to somebody that you know.
So if
Of
you
all
give
the
in
city.
Jerusalem, then can you give in advance?
You can't give in Jerusalem because they celebrate Purim on Friday, and then you're not getting your mitzvah on Thursday. It's a mitzvah of tzedakah, but not this specific mitzvah of matanot levyonim, of giving poor to the people where you are.
Can you give?
Why they celebrate on Friday?
Because in Jerusalem they don't celebrate Purim on Thursday. It's a
Well,
walled city, they celebrate on Friday. Like the Megillah says, that those who live in cities without walls on the 14th, and with walls on the 15th.
Daily Halacha had an interesting discussion about what is a walled city
Oh.
because,
What if you live outside of the walls?
well, they're saying at the time of Purim, there wasn't walled cities in Israel.
If I send money Thursday morning, then it's Friday
It has to
evening.
be a Friday morning in Yerushalayim.
Why morning? It's
That the
Friday-
mitzvot
the
of
day
Purim
starts
start
from
in the
evening.
day, in the morning.
Okay, then I can send Thursday evening. and
You
then I
are
receive-
already Thursday evening. Already the holiday's over for you. I'm all for giving to the Kan Yerushalayim,
No,
just
because
not
there
for
are
this.
really poor people over there.
Of course. So you should give tzedakah there and give $10 here to fulfill your obligation. Mitzvah of Matot Avim here to two different people. In
Because I have a
Poor.
website which says exactly like the needs, like a widow of a rabbi with 10 kids. And this is like
so I'm sure they're not all in Jerusalem. Maybe they're in Bnei Brak.
yeshiva student
Fine.
care, like
Find someone in
without
Bnei Brak.
funds.
So if someone is in Shiva, can you give child minutes to that person?
That's a good question. I have to look that up. I remember reading this question. Seems like an Avel is also obligated in Purim, but let me look that question up. It's not
Okay.
Baruch Hashem, I want to have to deal with all the time. One more halacha I want to tell you about Matot Levinim. Matanot Levinim. You asked me about Jerusalem. We're not talking about Jerusalem. So the end of this whole story is as follows. Purim, the Jews were lacking unity. The only person who was able to unite us was Haman. The Gemara tells us that Haman did for the Jewish people what all the prophets couldn't do. He united us. He made us all return to Hashem. And it seems like throughout Jewish history we learned the mistake of we want to become connected to Hashem by anti-Semitism. We only care about Israel and this when suddenly the President of the United States doesn't want him to speak. But all the times you want him to speak, so we don't stay, with our ear to the radio to listen to the speech. Our unity is dependent very often on anti-Semitism. Not on, the biggest tzaddikim. They try to unite us and we fight with them. We don't like this tzaddik, we don't like that tzaddik. It's the way we work. Someone once told me that that's the way Jewish history must be. And I disagree. This is my pshat. I didn't see it anywhere else. If I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong.
It's like
But
a broken record.
It is a broken record. We never learn from our mistake.
Right.
But I understand the story of Purim as follows. We defeated Haman because of our unity. Lech kenost kol haYehudim. We gathered all the Jews. We fasted. We prayed. We went to war. We didn't just fast and pray. We went to war. And then what is the first thing we do after war? We rejoice. And then we're commanded with 2 mitzvot. 3 mitzvot. The first to hear the Megillah every year. So we shouldn't forget why this war happened. Haman's complaint about the Jewish people, there's one nation, there's supposed to be one, but they're scattered, they're dispersed, they're not unified. They're not together. It's easier to attack the Jewish people when they're not together. The Midrash Tanchuma tells us that when we're a bunch of twigs, you can snap a twig with your fingers. But if you have a bunch of twigs together, you can never snap a twig. The Jewish people on their own, when we're alone, we're not worth much. But when we're together, you can't snap all the twigs. The moral of Purim was, we're done being separate, so remember that this was the problem. We read the Megillah. The second mitzvah, Mishlach Manot Ishla'el, to bring people closer to each other. The Poskim tell us that if you have Mishlach Manot, it's better to give Mishlach Manot to somebody you don't like over someone you do like, because it's meant to increase love on Purim. So to equal levels of society, you and your friends should all be getting along on Purim. Unify those who are very easy to become unified for. People are very excited about Mishlach Manot, giving Mishlach Manot, finding Mishlach Manot. We like the friend, we want to impress this friend, we want to have a better Mishlach Manot than that friend. That's part of our Purim experience. We want to make other people happy on Purim. It's always the worst feeling on Purim when someone gives you Mishlach Manot and you didn't plan to give them Mishlach Manot. There's what did you do? They brought you and you didn't think about them even. That because we're supposed to level the playing field. But then there's the third step, Purim, and that's Matanot Levinim. The whole year we think about, we have a certain status, we have a certain level, we don't want to drop to other levels, we don't want this, we don't associate with those people, it says the Megillah, we need you also to, all those people that you normally look down upon, Purim is that you cannot look down on other people. They have to be people that on Purim, before you go to your meal, you take care of someone else who doesn't have a meal. And that's what Hashem wants. Unity is not just saying, I hear everyone, I want unity, I want unity, I want unity. It doesn't mean agreeing, but it means taking care of each other. At the end of the day, push comes to shove, we're one people, we don't have a choice. The world hates us collectively, regardless of which synagogue you're affiliated with, regardless of which place you pay membership to, they don't like you because you're Jewish. And we have an obligation to level out our friendships, and also those people who we spend our time looking down on, to take out of our time and out of our money to make sure those people have a happy Purim. So B'ezras Hashem, Hashem should bless all with an easy fast tomorrow, good one, and a happy Purim tomorrow night, on a Thursday, and Yerushalayim on Friday. And B'ezras Hashem, the Yehudim Hayta Ora v'Simcha v'Zon v'Ikar, Ken Tiyeh Lanu. B'ezras Hashem.